Howdy, everyone, and welcome back. I am excited to be with you this week as we share a little bit more musings. Today, what I want to talk to you about is this moment in your business where you're feeling a little uncomfortable, a little out of place. You're second guessing yourself. Maybe your anxiety over the next step that you're going to make. And it's basically leaving you feeling like a fraud. So, we're going to talk about this in our businesses today. And, it's typically called the imposter syndrome, but I don't know, maybe we need to name it something new. So, anyways, if you are just catching us for the first time, my name is Leslie Hassler. I own Your Biz Rules Business Coaching, and I help service based business owners get growth and scalability right in a way that is profitable and sustainable. So that's what we do here with the Be More Successful show, because a lot of my clients, they've had success. They know what it feels like to be successful, and they're looking to continue that success. So today we're talking about 3 powerful ways that you can embrace and utilize that entrepreneurial imposter syndrome to your benefit. And, this is kind of coming together from the result of a few conversations that I've had, a couple of things that I've seen. And it was just interesting to me today when it all comes together. And I sat down and I did my framework for this episode. But let's talk about the word imposter syndrome. Now, typically, this is a characteristic, a name that is given more to women than it is to men, in all honesty. And I love, there's a Harvard Business Review article that's out just maybe about 2 weeks old right now. And it says, "Stop telling women they have the imposter syndrome." And so it's an interesting read. I highly recommend it. But essentially the phrase imposter syndrome was a term that came about through a study in 1978, where it really looked at that feeling of feeling like a fraud in your environment, and did basically put it in the laps of women. And the article really is interesting because, their premise in the article is that we've always placed this syndrome on the responsibility of the person, where it actually is the responsibility of the environment. Like it's the environment creating it, not necessarily the person creating it. So I think that's a really interesting concept to think about with this term. I will tell you from my own experience, when I was transitioning out of my first business, a lot of people ask me, how did I get into business consulting? And I always start off with the fact that it was very God-led, meaning that I had a business, I had a successful business, I had a team, I had all these things in my first business, but it sucked my soul more than fed my soul. And once I realized that it wasn't about how big I could make that business go, like there wasn't a dollar amount that was going to fix this, I really spent a couple of years in searching of, okay, God, if it's not this, then what? If it's not this, then what? What it came down to is that I am much more a geek and in love with business than I was a geek and in love with the business I was doing. And so coaching enabled me to feed a few parts of me. So it enabled me to teach, which I love to teach. It enabled me to empower and to really transform lives. That's why our mission is empowering prosperity for every business owner. But it also fed a little bit of a selfish goal for me in that I am totally a business geek. I love how the multitude of ways that business can work. And so this is my answer to being a serial entrepreneur. I get to work with a lot of different business owners, different personalities, different industries, and that's what keeps it fun for me. But when I came into this, I really fought it. I really had that feeling, well, who am I? Like, what success can I share? I mean, yeah, I've done what I did in my own business, but at that point in time, I was really struggling to say, okay, where else is my credibility in my future of doing this work. And so for me, I counteracted that imposter syndrome by getting out and doing it. I took on 3 free clients for 3 months, very defined type thing. And it was all about me proving to myself that I could get the results that I got for myself. And obviously, I'm here, oof, 7 years later, doing what I do, sharing with you. So we know that that worked out. But that imposter syndrome for me, that feeling of being out of step, maybe not being good enough, maybe not having all the bells and whistles and letters after my name, if you will, whatever it is that says expert to you, that shows up in my business all the time. And I know it shows up in your business too, or we wouldn't be talking about this. But really, as I have become more comfortable with that feeling, I have learned a way to step through it and to actually use it to my advantage. And so that was really interesting. I was having a call this today with another just contact, interesting conversation contact. And we were talking about getting out of the way or keeping things from derailing you. And he said, I offer you a change in words. And I was like, okay, give it to me. He goes, what if we embraced the things that are getting in our way and use them to propel ourselves forward? That was the second part that really brought me to today's topic, because I've wanted to come and talk to you about this for a little bit. And I was like, you're right. And as I look at what I'm going to share with you about how do you embrace this feeling of feeling like you're just not good enough or that you might fail, how do you embrace it and be able to turn it around and use it to fuel yourself forward? So we've got 3 tips, shock, 3, 3 tips. And I'm going to kind of paraphrase. So it's going to be about the newness. Okay, that's the first one, and we'll go into that in depth. It's going to be about confidence, and then it's going to be about competence. So there's 3 different things we're going to talk about. First, with the newness part of this. You know, when I do work with business owners, one of the barriers we have to break down is this fear of judgment. And we try to be a no judging zone. We try to be discerning, but I'm not here to judge the past. I'm not here to judge your goals. I'm here to help you get from where you are to where you want to be in the process. And judging doesn't fulfill that need. And one of the things I say to people all day long, because especially newer business owners, the first thing they will say is, well, I'm just really new in business. I'm only 2 months old in business. I'm only 1 year old in business. It's my first day in business. As a qualifier to their journey, I suppose, is the way we'll put it. And the thing is that you can't have a day 1, or you can't have a day 10. You have a day 10,000 until you have that day 1. Like, every day is important, or you wouldn't get here. There's no way, if I didn't have that day 1 of doing what I do now, there's no way I could have had 7 years worth of it. Am I at 2,100 days? 2,300, somewhere in there. But if I don't have a day 1, I can never have a day past 1. So there's some part to this that even when we're comparing ourselves to others in our industry, other entrepreneurs that we might aspire to be like, to have a journey story just like that, we have to realize that even they had a day 1. And so in that way, we're all in the arena together. We're all out to do the good work that we're out to do. And so you just will never be enough to be there. It's more like, if you don't ever get started, you're never going to, quote unquote, be enough, if you will. So surround yourselves. One of the ways to embrace this feeling is to surround yourself with people who are in the arena, who go through this every day, who take courageous steps forward of faith and of hope and of inspiration to be able to make those big ideas possible. Our second little tip is all on confidence. Now, here's what I think is really interesting. So I interviewed a woman who had had several businesses and several stories of just catastrophic failure. Um, and as she's sharing her learnings each iteration, each time she failed and came back, what it occurred to me was that courage is not about the absence of fear. Courage is about the ability to step through fear. Fear is a healthy emotion. It really is. It is one of those primal things that is meant to keep us safe, but it's also very primal and very like a snap judgment a lot of times. I will walk into situations where I have no reason to feel fear, but there's something in the environment that's triggering a story from previous. It's trying to keep me safe. So sometimes fear is those false expectations appearing real, right? I know there's one meme I love that's like, fear's a liar. Well, sometimes fear is telling us something very important. It's just whether or not we're courageous enough to get fear out of the driver's seat. If you've seen Inside Out, I think that's a great film to think about who's in the driver's seat. Where you get to when you're able to be courageous in small ways and in big ways is you start developing a certain detachment of your worth from results. I have failed a lot. I have spent a lot of money that did not yield a great result. I almost always break even, but it never really birthed, in some ways, the potential. In the last 18 months, though, I will tell you that each and every one of those failures is bearing fruit in a very convalescent, congealment, like it's all coming together all at once. And it's something beautiful to watch. And it's something that I check with myself about how upset I was that it didn't work more, and how beautiful it is to see why I had to have that learning in order to be able to do it again. So I think there is this kind of, like I said, this when you're able to detach your worth from the results in your business, you're able to be more courageous the next time around, because it's not about succeeding or failing, right? It's about the trying and the learning that ultimately gets you to the level of success that you're looking for. Our third tip is that confidence to move forward, the ability to have that day one, is all about building competence. And just like those learnings I just told you about, it's all about building competence. I've done some things, even in the last week, that we've pulled together some massive things in a matter of days. But man almighty, did they take months. The first time around, I had to build competency. And now it's like, oh, this is what's needed. And you're able to boom, 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 boom. And they just kind of roll out, where maybe that first time around, there was a lot of difficulty and understanding and, complexity that just didn't feel good, effort that just missed the mark in some way. And I think if you get to the point of understanding, and I love this quote, I love Brene Brown, but I love this quote. And it was so funny because I was writing this segment of about that story of competence, of building competence. And I was like, oh, I've seen this quote. Who is it? And then I find it, and it's Brene Brown. So I want to share with you the quote because I think it's really important. And it says, one day you will tell the story of how you overcame, and it will be someone else's survival guide. Now, what I wrote here is really there's so many times when we're feeling like we're a bother to other people that were being a pest to them. We're not bringing, they don't want this, they wouldn't buy this, they're not interested, all those things that tend to pop up when you're feeling a bit fraudish. And I always think about, don't deprive somebody else from the opportunity to choose. And there's also great joy in the work that you do. And I always think about, don't deprive that joy from someone else by making the decision for them. All day long, the only thing I can do is give you the choice. I cannot make the decision for you. And I wouldn't want to deprive you of the ability to make that choice, because freedom is one of my highest ranking values in my life. So if I value my freedom and I value choice, then why would I not offer it to everyone? And I think that's a really interesting way, especially if whatever you're feeling right now is keeping you from interacting with another person, keeping you from making an offer, keeping you from making an ask, is if you never ask, if you never offer, the answer will always be no. The only way to it is through it. So rewrite the story, rewrite the come from, rewrite the dialogue. Having trouble with that word right now. And really see that you can be an inspiring tale to somebody else that's going through the same thought process, the same struggles. And I if you do read the Harvard Business Review article about environment and the environment really being the contributing factor, I just have to think that as entrepreneurs, we're the ones that are building our own environments. And so you can shift this environment for yourself and for your team. There is nothing more powerful than a team that has the confidence to try, who's not afraid of the repercussions, who are embracing the learning and using it to fuel their future. And that, I think, is very possible for you. So that's it for today, guys. I hope you're doing well. Again, if you loved this message today, if it hit home in some ways, share it with your community. Give us a shout out. Let us know what you're thinking. And as always, check back for our next episode of the Be More Successful Show. I'm Leslie Hassler with your Biz Rules Business Coaching. May your week be profitable.